Hello and a very warm welcome to Front Page, only on the AIM network, India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And here are the headlines. Anthropic's code review weaponizes multi-agent AI to solve the $2.5 billion bottleneck of AI-generated code. Internal tests show a 200% output surge, proving Anthropic isn't just writing software, it's actually owning the entire pipeline. Indonesia has signed an agreement to procure India's Brahmos supersonic cruise missile system, becoming the second foreign buyer after the Philippines and marking a major boost to India's push to expand defense exports across the Indo-Pacific. AI legend Yann LeCun's new startup, AMI, has secured $1.03 billion to build world models, ditching the industry's obsession with language models to create machines that truly understand physical reality. Nvidia pivots from chips to AI workers with NemoClaw, an open-source platform designed to automate enterprise workflows. By making it chip-agnostic, Jensen Huang is targeting global dominance over the agentic economy. India's job market faces a paradox. 77% are hunting for roles, but 50% of employers report a massive skills mismatch. Companies now prioritize practical AI capabilities and problem solving over traditional credentials. India launches a 1,000 crore rupees MedTech growth fund to back domestic medical device makers, boost advanced healthcare manufacturing, reduce import dependence, and position the country as a global hub for medical technology innovation. As conversational AI matures, India's $54 billion BPO industry faces a radical shift from labor-intensive call centers to agentic ecosystems, automating up to 95% of routine customer service queries. Anthropic is moving at a breakneck speed. The pace is getting very difficult to follow. You might think Claude Code was the high point. It wasn't. They pushed past it. The story is changing. AI writes the code. The AIM network. Like, share, and subscribe. Anthropic has announced code review. A new system is now built into Claude Code. It connects directly to GitHub. Pull requests are examined before they ever reach the merge stage. This is far beyond a basic code check. Multiple agents working at the same time. Different approaches, different inspections, finding bugs, removing duplicates, sorting issues by severity. The design focuses on depth, not just speed. The quick and dirty coding phase is quickly fading. Serious engineering is definitely back, and the reason becomes clear when you look at the workload. Inside Anthropic, developers were struggling to keep up. Code output per engineer had risen by 200% in a single year. Production was accelerating for sure. The review process, unfortunately, was not. Only 16% of pull requests were receiving meaningful feedback. In practice, many changes were simply approved without much scrutiny. Once the new review system was introduced, that picture changed dramatically. The share of pull requests receiving meaningful feedback rose to 54%. For larger pull requests, those exceeding 1,000 lines of code, the system flagged potential problems 84% of the time. On average, it identified about 7.5 issues per pull request, and the error rate remained very low. Less than 1% of the findings were considered incorrect. One developer changed a single line of code. It looked routine. Claude marked it as critical. That line would have disabled the authentication checks across the system. One small change and an entire login system exposed. That's the difference a review can make. This system is built for large production environments, the kind used by companies operating at enormous scale. Companies like Uber, Salesforce, Accenture. The giants dealing with the AI surge. Admins take control, spend caps, analytics, repo level toggles, and the timing is definitely ideal. $2.5 billion run rate revenue since launch. Enterprise subscription climbing quickly. This, of course, has become core software, $15 to $25 per review. The response online came instantly. GitHub Copilot is cheaper. CodeRabbit does it for less, end quote. Anthropic isn't changing the lowest price. They're actually offering the judgment of a senior engineer. 20 minutes of focus code review, a $25 review request. A senior developer billing $200 an hour. That math speaks for itself. A premium service, high signal, and of course, first came the question, can AI write code? Now, of course, a question, can teams rely on it? And of course, that question is already shaping the next stage of development. Anthropic is expanding across the entire stack. Generation, security, review. The focus, of course, now reaches beyond the model itself. Attention is moving to how software is built and maintained. One assumption is beginning to fade. Writing code has never been the hardest step. Reviewing it is where teams struggle. Trust remains the real hurdle. Success will depend on the process around the code. And at this moment, Anthropic is designing that very process. And here, of course, is the front page take. And that process moves urgently. Speed is a weapon. Anthropic is using it. First came the enterprise teams, then the developers at the keyboard. Now, the merge button. The company keeps climbing the software stack. Momentum is building. So the question becomes, is $25 a bargain or something else entirely? Please do let us know what you think in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. A moment many thought would take a generation has arrived. India stood in line to buy the world's most advanced weapons at one time. Now, other nations are stepping forward to buy them from India. And the system drawing that attention is the Brahmos missile. A missile that travels at nearly Mach 2.8, almost 3 times the speed of sound, giving naval forces only minutes to respond. Its speed, range, and precision have made it one of the most formidable cruise missile systems in service today. Now, of course, Indonesia has agreed to acquire the system in a deal estimated between $200 to $350 million. For years on end, when India needed fighter jets, missiles, or submarines, the orders went abroad to Russia, France, or the United States. That is, of course, how the system worked. Today, the orders are starting to come to India. The sale carries wider and significance. It reflects a change in global power. India, of course, now moves from buyer to supplier. So what exactly is Jakarta getting for their money? Indonesia is now the second foreign customer after the Philippines, which already integrated these batteries into their marine core. But here's where it gets very, very interesting. That speed we mentioned earlier, nearly Mach 2.8, is what makes the difference. The Brahmos missile reaches close to Mach 3. That is almost 3 times the speed of sound. At those speeds, defending forces have very little time to react, which makes the system particularly difficult to intercept. And that raises an important question. Why is everyone suddenly so desperate to get their hands on this specific technology? The answer to that is simple: battle-proven reliability. During Operation Sindoor in 2025, the Brahmos was used in real combat to strike high-value targets with surgical precision. In the global arms market, combat tested is the ultimate gold standard. And that reputation carries particular weight in the Indo-Pacific. Indonesia is an archipelago of nearly 17,000 islands. Protecting sea lanes across that geography is a constant challenge. A supersonic coastal defense system therefore serves a practical military need. But the story reaches further than a single missile purchase. India is, of course, positioning itself as the new, reliable alternative to the traditional Big Four, which is the United States, Russia, France, and China. New Delhi has set a massive target of $5 billion in annual defense exports, and the Brahmos missile is at the forefront of this effort. The talks also cover a wider defense partnership: marine-grade steel, radar systems, fighter jet maintenance. And here, of course, is the front page take. With the Philippines and Indonesia now in the fold, and countries in the Middle East and Latin America watching very closely, India now stands among the world's defense exporters. One question remains though: who will be next? India's defense journey has reached a proud moment. Our engineers now build systems used far beyond our shores. Indian technology is reaching partners across the world. And this chapter, ladies and gentlemen, is only the beginning. This is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Yann LeCun, a Turing Award winner and a central figure in modern deep learning, believes the industry may be heading in the wrong direction. In his view, language models alone will never reach human-level intelligence, and he's backing that view with a major investment, $1 billion. For 3 years, the race in artificial intelligence followed a familiar script: make the models larger, feed them more text, an approach which shaped the strategies of OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, giving way to the assumption that more data and more computing power would lead to more capable systems. Billions of dollars flowed into that idea. But one of the pioneers of the field is now urging caution. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Front Page. Today, of course, we look at a debate that could reshape the future of artificial intelligence. Speaking recently in Paris, LeCun revealed a new venture, a company called Advanced Machine Intelligence, or AMI. Even before launching its first product, the firm was valued at $3.5 billion. And the list of supporters is strikingly good: Jeff Bezos, Eric Schmidt, Mark Cuban. These investors are supporting a very different approach to building intelligent systems. That different approach begins with a simple criticism. Systems like ChatGPT predict words. They are extremely good at it, but they rely entirely on patterns in text. Yann LeCun argues that intelligence grows in another way. So consider a toddler. A child does not study gravity in a textbook. They drop a spoon, they fall, they touch and explore the world around them. Those experiences build intuition. They form the base of reasoning. Today's AI systems show remarkable skill with language, yet their grasp of everyday reality remains limited. AMI wants to build what researchers call world models, systems designed to learn how the physical world behaves. Now, of course, not just how the sentences are formed. That vision also reflects LeCun's own path. Yann LeCun spent a decade at Meta. He built FAIR, FAIR, and pushed the idea of JEPA architectures. Then, of course, the industry rushed towards large language models. Meta joined that race. LeCun chose another direction. He presented a proposal to Mark Zuckerberg. Let me build this outside, he argued. Zuckerberg agreed. Now LeCun is assembling a new team: Alexandre Lebrun and Seining Z, researchers with experience at DeepMind and Meta. Their labs now stretch from Paris to Singapore. Those new labs reveal the scale of the ambition. Do not expect an AMI chatbot on your phone, no. This work focuses on harder problems: manufacturing, robotics, biomedical research. LeCun wants systems that can model an aircraft engine before it is built, software that understands stress, heat, and physics. The goal resembles engineering more than conversation. Much, of course, of the industry still concentrates on scale. LeCun's project concentrates on the physical world. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Front Page take. Large language models currently dominate the conversation. Systems such as ChatGPT have become the public face of artificial intelligence. But every technology eventually encounters its limits. Some researchers now question how far the current scaling approach can really go. Yann LeCun believes progress will require a very different direction. In his view, machines must learn to understand the physical world, not only written language. His new venture is attempting to build exactly that. The effort begins with significant backing and an experienced research team. What remains uncertain is whether this alternative path will succeed. So the question is, will text alone lead to truly intelligent machines, or will progress depend on systems that understand the world around them? Please do let us know what you think in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe. Think AI, Think AIM, and well, now think AMI as well. Nvidia has a problem, and it's a $1 trillion problem. And for nearly a decade, one company supplied the hardware everyone depended on. The GPUs, the H100, the Blackwell. If you were building serious AI systems, you were definitely buying from Nvidia. ChatGPT runs on it, Claude runs on it. But hardware doesn't stay untouchable forever. We all know that. The rest of the world is catching up. And Jensen Huang can see where this is going. Selling GPUs alone won't be enough anymore. The next move is to shape how the systems built on them actually run. That's where NemoClaw enters the picture. GTC 2026 is only days away, but the news is already circulating. Nvidia is preparing to release a new open source platform. The name is NemoClaw. This is meant for large companies. The discussions are already happening in corporate boardrooms. Salesforce, Cisco, Google, Adobe, companies that shape how the Fortune 500 operates. If you sit at a computer for work, you likely use their software. And Nvidia is taking its pitch directly to them. Let us, of course, think of our offices for a second. And now think about the busy work. Writing reports, digging through data, filing support tickets. So how can all of this get easier for all of us? The answer to that lies in the fact that NemoClaw is not a chatbot, but an AI worker. It doesn't just tell us how to execute a task, it actually executes the task. Autonomous, independent. NemoClaw is the only employee in the building who works all night and never books a meeting about work-life balance. I know, of course, you might be thinking that we've seen the open source heat before. OpenClaw, OpenFang, Karpathy's Auto Research. But guess who also saw this? Yes, Jensen Huang. Which means Nvidia watched and they learned. And now they're scaling it for the enterprise. Now, of course, here's the interesting part. The move that could turn into a $1 trillion strategy. NemoClaw doesn't tie itself to a single chip. It can run on AMD, it can run on Intel. In principle, it runs wherever the hardware exists, which raises quite an obvious question. Why would the company that dominates high-end chips make life easier for its rivals? The answer sits in Nvidia's own history. Years ago, the company released CUDA, software that made it far easier for developers to use GPUs. Once teams started building their systems around it, changing course became very difficult. Entire workflows grew up around that very ecosystem, and once those foundations are in place, companies rarely rebuild them from scratch again. NemoClaw looks like a similar idea. Make the software widely available today and shape the systems everyone depends on tomorrow. Behind the scenes, of course, there's real engineering here. Holding center stage is Nemotron 3, and the numbers are very impressive. Up to 9 times faster inference, around 20% stronger reasoning scores. For systems that act on their own, speed is a critical aspect. Because before anything happens, the system has to process the situation, then of course decide what to do next, and if that loop is slow, the whole thing is useless. Nvidia's answer? Make it fast. Speed matters, but timing matters just as much. Next week, March 16th, San Jose. That's when GTC begins. It's actually the gathering where Nvidia usually sets the tone for the year ahead. So mentioning this now shapes the conversation before anyone else walks into the hall. So for a long time, the routine was very familiar. A question went in, an answer came back. Now, of course, the system reads the brief and gets on with it. So, of course, Nvidia reached the top of the market by selling hardware. Chips built the fortune, but chips can be copied. The harder thing to replace is the system people rely on every day. That's what businesses run on. If NemoClaw becomes the platform companies depend on, Nvidia's role changes. The company stops being just the supplier of machines. Instead, its software begins residing inside the workflow itself. And of course, once that happens, the relationship changes. One is, of course, no longer simply buying the hardware. You're actually running the business on it, which brings us to the bigger shift. The race to build the fastest chip has largely played out. Attention is now turning to the systems that actually do the work. So, ladies and gentlemen, Please do let us know what you think about this development in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Millions hunting, companies starving. Makes no sense. Or does it? You're looking for a paycheck, and they're, of course, looking for a unicorn. Welcome to the great Indian talent mismatch of 2026. This, by the way, is Front Page by the AIM Network, ladies and gentlemen. But before we, of course, dismantle the narrative, we request you to please like, share, and subscribe. The latest figures are in. Indeed has released its hiring tracker. The numbers tell an encouraging story. Job postings rose 3.3% in January. That places the market 84% above pre-pandemic levels. On paper, the hiring machine appears to be running smoothly. Nearly half of employers report stable hiring. Around a third say requirement is expanding. But there is a complication. The survey reveals a striking tension. 77% of employees say they are considering leaving their current roles. Yet, only about a third believe they will actually secure a new position. The result is a very strange mood in the labor market. Plenty of openings, but a noticeable lack of confidence about moving into them. Why the disconnect? More than half of employers report a shortage of applicants. 58% of companies say they struggle to attract enough candidates. Yet, many of those same firms say the issue runs deeper. It is not only the number of applicants, it is whether the skills match the work required. Around 50% of employees point to a clear skills gap. Formal qualifications alone are not the concern. Companies say they want people who can solve problems. About 44% believe candidates fall short on that front. Communication is another pressure point. Roughly 38% say applicants lack those skills. In today's market, employers are looking for practical ability. What matters most is what someone can do and how quickly they can deliver it. That emphasis on practical ability is shaping where companies are now hiring. The focus is on the front line of the business. Sales and business development account for 42% of new roles. Engineering follows at 35%. Manufacturing stands at 32%. These are the positions that keep companies operating day to day. Roles tied directly to building products or bringing them to market remain the priority. That same shift is visible in the skills companies are asking for as well. Artificial intelligence is no longer limited to technology firms. About 14% of job postings in India now ask for AI-related skills. And the demand stretches far beyond software. It goes to manufacturing, insurance, logistics. A year ago, roughly 36% of job categories mentioned AI. Today, that figure has climbed to 55%. The expectation is quickly becoming part of everyday work. Data analytics leads the demand at 40%. Software development follows at 29%. For many employers, familiarity with AI tools is rapidly becoming a very basic requirement. That very change is also reshaping how candidates are evaluated. The traditional resume is losing some of its influence. Around 53% of companies now rely more on assessments than CVs. Live assessments, practical tests. Employers want to see the code written. They want to hear the pitch delivered. Evidence of ability is becoming the deciding factor. Academic grades alone carry far less weight than before. Thank God. Sorry, I had a moment to reflect on my... Anyway, so what do you want? Growth is the big one. 69% want to move up. But there is a survivalist streak right here. 54% say job stability is the number one factor. The great resignation is over. The great recalibration is here. You're, of course, moving to tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Lower rent, better life, same hustle. And here, of course, is the front page take. India isn't out of jobs, and India isn't definitely out of talent. We are in a skills transition. The old credentials, they're expiring. The new currency is adaptability. The gap isn't actually a hole, it's actually a bridge. And you have to build it while you're crossing it. The question is not about who's hiring. The question actually is, are you ready to be useful? Please do let us know in the comments below. Are you the 77% or the 1/3? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, Think yeah, I am. India's healthcare innovation story is entering a new phase. The country now hosts 150 plus healthcare and life sciences GCCs employing over 300,000 professionals, and many of them are evolving from delivery centers into global research and development hubs. At the same time, India has just launched its first 1,000 crore rupees MedTech growth fund designed to scale domestic medical device companies and reduce import dependence. So the question now is India about to become a global center for AI-driven healthcare innovation? To explore that and a lot more, I'm joined by Mr. Gaurav Vasu, the co-founder and CEO of Unearth IQ. Gaurav, true pleasure to have you with us on Front Page. Hope you're doing wonderfully well.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. All right, so exciting times ahead, Gaurav. I believe that the India's 1,000 crore MedTech growth fund, which I just spoke about, recently has launched MedArtha Capital, 1,000 crore MedTech growth fund, which is aimed at supporting 10 to 12 domestic medical device companies. So Gaurav, the first one coming at you is this the moment India begins building globally competitive MedTech firms?
No, it is. It's an exciting news and exciting insight for us. So if you look at what we are seeing now in India's healthcare GCC ecosystem, healthcare GCC, when you talk about 160, keep in mind, so it's a culmination of pharma, life sciences, medical devices, and what we call as hospitalization GCCs in India, right? All of them running their technology center, operation centers. But Sudhi, what we have seen, and why I say this is really exciting and why this really, acknowledges the fact that India now not only has a lot of run-of-the-mill talent that could actually work on engineering services, technology services and operation, but truly cutting-edge innovation and R&D that can happen out of India is we are seeing a lot of emergence of GCCs which are trying to move the new latest entrants into the country, right? Be it in the pharma space, be it in the medical devices space. They're actually now focusing on the core business value chain, right? If you look at, for every GCC, there's something called as a core and a support function. India had phenomenal talent and innovation that happened on the support side, which is on engineering, tech, and operations. But now, in the last 5 to 10 years, we've seen pharma, all sectors, but pharma, healthcare, and medical devices, impacting from clinical trials to regulatory to reporting to drug development and phase 1, phase 2, right?
True.
And I think now what it does for the ecosystem at large is it gives more assurance to the global leaders that India is also focusing on deepening the domestic tech startup ecosystem. India had phenomenal engineering services companies from Cyient to Tata Elxsi to HCL Tech's engineering services business, which acted as an ecosystem support. There is Genome City in Hyderabad. There is, the new park that's coming up in Bangalore. All of this is part of the ecosystem strategy. Now, what this 1,000 crore MedTech first fund and many more to follow, I'm sure, will do is it will give confidence to the CIO and the R&D team and the innovation teams that India will now produce deep tech MedTech startups, which will actually then help them change and transform their tech stacks.
Which is very encouraging because Gaurav, I just wanted to share with you the expected growth by 2030 is almost about $50 billion. Right now, 75 to 80% of advanced medical devices are being imported. So this is a great shot in the arm for the MedTech ecosystem.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what this does, Sudhi, for the domestic. Now, imagine if you and I were a startup who was trying to build a MedTech, deep tech device ecosystem in India, a startup in India. Not only do you have access to capital, but you have access to global firms like Philips, Healthineers, you have Siemens, you have Medtronics and Quest Diagnostic. Many of these global firms who understand, how difficult products are built and sold and medical devices are sold globally. It gives them an ability to work with the GCCs. It gives them an ability to obviously work with the Indian ecosystem as well. So culmination of Indian ecosystem plus the global ecosystem actually helps them, what we call as, Sudhi, in the research, private equity and startup research that we do, we call it as proof of concept to proof of revenue and proof of scale.
Fair.
Where Indian medtech startups were struggling was they would have phenomenal success when it comes to proof of concept to proof of product development, and maybe proof of revenue for a set of customers for POCs and maybe a handful of customers. But proof of scale was missing in India.
Sure.
I think what this fund, along with the deepening GCC ecosystem relationship with startup and academia does, it helps them move from, proof of scale, proof of revenue to now proof of scale, because now they can, access a lot of the global clients sitting here in India and run POCs and test their products and test their solutions with them.
Fair enough. Gaurav, let's just run through the numbers a bit. Rise of healthcare and life sciences GCCs. India today hosts about 150 plus healthcare and life sciences GCCs, employing over 300,000 professionals. So why are global companies now locating deeper research and development and clinical analytics work in India? Why is that happening?
So I think it's a gradual progression. Sudhi, if you look at, all of them have realized that India, naturally because of the currency and because of the exchange rate differentiation, definitely has given them, and mind you, Sudhi, these GCCs are not new to India, right? Some of them, Novartis celebrated 25 plus years in India.
True.
So some of them have been in India for a very long period of time, realizing value from India. What they've seen in the last 5 years, or some of them in the last decade, is that they could actually bring a lot of the core functional work to India. And now with AI and integrated analytics and integrated AI and GenAI solutions and products that they are trying to bring across their core and the support value chain, they realize the importance of bringing, so we call it as art of possibility, bring more and more that you could deliver from here. And the new GCCs which are coming to India, right, be it medical devices or be it pharma in the entire healthcare ecosystem, feel that integrated model of bringing core plus support gives them the ability to impact the headquarters much faster. Fair. At a much faster pace, right? There was a gradual progression. If you look at TI, which came to India in 1984, or if you look at Novartis, like I said, came back 25 years back, right?
AstraZeneca is there, then there's GE Healthcare as well, Gaurav. That's been around for a very long time as well.
Yeah. So that's what I said. I think if you look at what's changed is the new GCCs will now, learn from the blueprint of some of the older GCCs,
right?
But they have a second mover advantage, right? What is that second mover advantage? We'll now learn that, you could bring a lot of AI, generative AI work into your core regulatory, clinical trial, phase 1, phase 2, and bring that work here.
Fair enough. Gaurav, have you seen, because obviously you're so deeply ensconced in the system, have you seen, let's say, an inclination towards any one particular state when it comes to medtech and life sciences, in terms of they making the investments, the GCCs?
So, Sudhi, if you look at it from Unearth IQ and KPMG, we launched a report which talked about very recently, right, which actually gives a very deep dive perspective of what we have seen. If you look at the 160 GCC ecosystem today, right now it is heavily tilted or heavily focused between Hyderabad and Bangalore, Telangana and Karnataka, largely because I think these two states offer 4 things, right, which are very critical. One is obviously the talent across core and support function. Second is the ability to scale, because a lot of GCCs also come here for differentiation, right? If all my competitors are here in India and building their tech, R&D and core work, I need to be here in that geography, right?
Sure.
And I also need to build differentiated. So that's why I talked about Genome City. Again, Genome City is not new, right? That's been around for over 2+ decades. And that's an interesting ecosystem of Indian medical devices, pharma, Indian ecosystem, plus the global capability centers, right? So it's a fantastic cross-pollination, and plus the startup ecosystem. So it's right now about 60-70% is between these two states, between these two cities. But we've also seen, interestingly, Ahmedabad becoming an interesting choice, because historically Gujarat and Ahmedabad have had a lot of domestic pharma medical device ecosystem, which is the India business opportunities, right? And there is already there's no dearth of talent. The only difference was, can they actually build this for the global firms at a global scale? And we'll see that happening over the next few years. So right now it is between these two cities. But our feeling, our perception is that it will actually move towards Pune, towards Pune is also a credible competition. Chennai,
Sure.
especially when you look at Sudhi, what Chennai or Tamil Nadu is trying to do with the PLI benefits for the GCCs in the form of manufacturing plus GCC. Imagine if you could have, your manufacturing set up and you would have a GCC set up in Chennai and manufacturing somewhere in the outskirts. Both your business teams and innovation teams are working together in the same location, right? It could be for India opportunity, but I think Chennai, Pune, Ahmedabad are, I think, great cities to look out for in the next few years. We will see that happening, but a lot of healthcare and pharma and med devices take time. Unlike the other sectors, right? Which has a lot of regulations involved.
That's true. Of course, now since you had mentioned the Unearth IQ and KPMG report, I'll stick to that as far as drug development is concerned. So just AI platforms can shorten drug development, Gaurav, by 1 to 2 years. Where are you seeing the biggest real world impact today? One, and the follow up to this one, which I would like for you to maybe give as a forward looking take to a lot of the viewers who are watching right now. Where do you see this going in terms of India's growth story with especially this kind of a corpus of fund now available to companies which are getting supported?
Sure, yeah. To answer your question, I'll again refer back to the report, right? If you look at, we have 7 case studies in the report, very interesting, global firms who are doing work there. I think 3 areas, I briefly touched upon that. If you look at the core value chain, I think regulatory reporting is one big area where with integration of AI and GenAI, GCC are able to have a huge impact on time to regulatory reporting that they've crunched down for the headquarters, right? And the pace at which and the cost at which they're able to deliver. Second, I think in the core chemical composition, especially more on the pharma side, right, where a lot of your CDM data, drug development and drug phase 1, phase 2 research data that comes in from patients from around the world. There's this piece of biostatistician work that happens out of a large lot of service providers, right? I think that's another area where we are seeing GCCs creating a huge impact. End-to-end across the value chain, I think like we have called out, we are seeing the entire time to device development, right, is crunched by at least 10 to 15%, which is phenomenal if you look at it from a medical device perspective. And then talk about pharma or all the pills that we take. If you look at it, takes about 16 years. These are not generic, right? These are specialty products that they are building. It takes about between 12 to 16 years for a pharma firm to discover and then launch a particular product in the market. All of that's also getting crunched by about 20-25%. That's huge in terms of time impact.
That is very. And is that?
And I think those are.
Am I right in asking you this, that AI can actually reduce the early discovery timelines by almost up to 30 to 35%? Am I correct in saying that, Gaurav?
Early stage, but yes, I think we're already there, 15 to 20%. But I think as more and more data gets integrated into the systems, be it Siebel Clinical, SAP Clinical, a lot of databases that they use, and a lot of patient data plus data that comes from the marketed products and the customer feedback that comes. Once that is integrated, yes, we could have a 20-30% impact over a period of time.
In terms of money, I would like for you to maybe quantify that. Average drug development cost anywhere in the range of about $2 to $2.6 billion, Gaurav. Am I right in that? So obviously, if the timeline gets reduced, that will have a direct impact on the cost. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So more than the cost, definitely it has an impact on the cost. But think of it, Sudhi, in terms of 2 subtle metrics that we don't talk about: saving lives.
Oh, yes.
Because a lot of these drugs are saving lives.
Oh, yes.
And like enterprise software product, pharma firms also want to launch the drug much faster than my competitor, right? So it's actually about the potential revenue expansion. So a lot of them are not just coming here because they see that 2.6, 2.3 or $3 billion getting crunched to $2.5 billion. That $500 million may not make a big difference as compared to, let's say, launching of a particular diabetic drug in the European market, US market, which helps them increase their market share and launch the product much faster than the peers, right? We are all in the race of revenue acceleration and capturing the market share. I think more than the cost, yes, it is, because I think that's a metric we're all used to talking as that's how we have been coached to talk about, right? But I feel it's their ability to actually launch that drug much faster and capture the revenue, which I think is a big differentiator. That's why you see more and more medical devices and pharma firms trying to come here to do this, right?
Fair
And
enough.
to your other question, Sudhir, right, which you asked me,
Which
if
is,
I was to
yes, which is,
quantify this
I would
from an
like for you
India
to maybe
perspective,
send a message to a lot of the people who are coming in and summarize this conversation, Gaurav. That's what I would like to request you for.
so no, Sudhir, I would like to answer one more of your question,
Sure,
right,
please, please.
which was actually about what does it do for the India ecosystem,
Yes,
right now.
yes.
While these global giants build some of these capabilities for the headquarters, some of the benefits, direct, indirect, we all experience. But I think from an Indian perspective, if I wear my patriot hat, I think there are two big impacts we see. As more and more medical, you talked about the 1,000 crore fund.
Yep.
I think if more and more GCCs are able to work together with these startups, right, maybe Series A, Series B, and build joint IP and solution together, I wouldn't be surprised, Sudhir, to your point of 75% medical device market share being with the multinational players today,
But that's a
probably
big
coming down to maybe 60, 65 or 55% over a period of time, because a lot of these medical devices and maybe pharma, also specialty pharma, focusing more on the India market, because India is going to be a much bigger $5+ trillion economy, right? So I see that. I wouldn't be surprised by 2030 if we have at least 50 million plus ARR medical device organizations, more than 50 to 100 of them built out of India, right?
It's
who are building it
fabulous.
for India, but learning from the global capability centers.
Fabulous. Gaurav, I just, as always, have to thank you for your presence on Front Page. And as promised, next time around, I wish that you're in the studio and we can do an in-person discussion as we had discussed before the start of this interview. I'm looking forward to that for sure. And your reports always are stellar. Thank you so much for shedding so much of light and also making this a great conversation.
No, thanks, Sudhir. Thanks to the AIM team, and looking forward to be there with you in person in the studio.
Fabulous. So are we. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the co-founder and CEO of Unearth IQ, Gaurav Vasu, shedding some very important light on these facts, which moving forward look very, very inspirational and aspirational. And here, as always, is the Front Page take. I know you were waiting for it. Well, the pulse of healthcare innovation is getting stronger, and increasingly, that heartbeat is coming from India, and it is always about saving lives. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. For more than 3 decades, India's call centers powered the global economy from cubicles in Bengaluru, Hyderabad, and Gurugram. But the voices answering those calls are beginning to change. As AI voice agents grow capable of resolving most customer queries instantly, the industry that helped build India's middle class now faces a very profound reinvention, or for that matter, an existential reckoning. And joining me today is our latest and very capable addition to our editorial team, Mr. Novinston Lobo, who is the associate editor. And he's going to be shedding light on this, to be honest, very disturbing development. Welcome to Front Page, Novinston. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Sudhir. Thank
you. Pleasure
to
have you with us. Let's actually just start by setting the context, Novinston. It's been a $50 billion industry employing more than 2 to 2.5 million people, right?
Yeah.
And for almost, I believe, maybe 3 decades or more,
True.
It's been roaring.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, it is dying a very natural or maybe an unnatural death. What do you have to say?
Yeah, so BPO in India and data entry segments in India defined what IT services are right now. Like, let's talk about early 90s or early 2000s for that matter. BPO segment and the data entry segment, any customer related interactions anywhere around the globe came from India.
Yep.
It provided, Indians always long for economical or job stability. For Indians who could not find that in government services, they found it in BPO services.
Sure.
You could stay in a BPO company for about a decade, and then you did not even think about jumping another company.
There was growth, I believe.
Exactly.
No, Winston?
Yeah.
I mean, people were happy.
But right now, the BPO segment, unfortunately, it's about to go to the museum. That's the phase we are going in right now. According to the Niti Aayog report, the job loss is going to be massive. In the
You want to put a number to it, quantify
yeah.
it?
So in early 2020s, almost 4 million people were employed. But shift to a decade, by 2030, Niti Aayog says there will be only 1.8 million people employed. This is a Niti Aayog report, but experts say this number will even come down drastically because AI is also evolving.
What do
AI
you
is also
expect? Yeah,
learning.
that's a very valid point. AI is evolving. People are shifting towards AI in a bigger way. What is your estimation? How
I
much will
think it will
fall
come
back?
down less than 1 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there won't be any voice agents or human agents talking to customers anymore. I think it will be just a human agents who will be monitoring all those systems.
Understood.
That's about it.
Understood.
There won't be, because right now there are companies, especially in India, who are building software tools to use empathetic voice. You won't even differentiate it if it's a robotic voice anymore.
True.
Because in the past 5 years, there are a lot of companies deployed robotic voices. Let's say for a simple reminder of EMI,
Yeah.
or a simple reminder of loan or credit card bills and stuff like that.
Sure.
But people understood those are robotic voices. So when I call a customer service, when I call a company for a query, when I automatically know that it is a robotic voice, my immediate impulse is to go to the help section, ask for a human agent to contact.
Why is that though? Is it a sense of empathy? Is it a sense of connection? Is it a sense of the fact that maybe the robot is programmed, would not be able to answer my queries? What is it?
I think it boils down to very basic, that it's very new to us.
Okay.
I've never interacted with a robot. I want to interact with a human who can understand my anger, who can understand my sadness. If I say,
Fair enough.
I paid this thing, but my payment is still processing, I paid thrice, but you have fined me. A robot won't understand that.
Right.
But I can talk to a human agent. I can tell him, I can send him screenshots. See, I paid this. It's been processing for a very long time. It's something the fault is from your end. You will have to rectify it. So send me the refund.
So one doesn't get stuck in a loop. One tends to kind of have a normal conversation and trying to arrive at a conclusion.
Exactly. So robotic voices tend to give you the template, already provided answers back and back again, and that irritates people.
Sure.
So it all boils down to having a simple conversation with another human. But right now, companies are building voice agents who can, like, for example, like how we speak in between, we use fillers like and they are building tools with voice agents who can recognize all those gaps.
So there are a lot more human nuances as far as speech is concerned.
So they are
moving
coming
forward.
up with voices which can giggle with you, which can smile with you, which can use an empathetic tone, which can apologize. So sorry, Sudhir, I did not know this happened.
You did not?
Thank you.
No, but I have to. No, Vincent, before we get into that, I definitely want to ask you this. Everyone has been talking about the IT services, right? I mean, the job loss is there. We're talking about a lot of the issues coming up in this, I believe, has been flying under the radar.
It's
So
true.
that makes me ask you this. The people employed here, I mean, and they have been probably comfortable, and I'm not saying they've not been probably making the effort to upgrade, but what kind of a skill set does one need? Let's say you've worked in a BPO for a decade. What do you do to upgrade yourself? Because
that's
it's like a double whammy, isn't it?
True. It's like a double-edged sword, because for people, very basic qualification you needed to be in a BPO is you need to have good English conversational skill. That's about it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's about it. So for people who are stuck there, people who didn't upskill themselves, it became a huge blow. And sad part is, a lot of experts and companies which we spoke to, they said a lot of their employees, once laid off, they returned to gig economy. They wanted to become drivers, or they wanted to become delivery agents. For a few, they got paid more there than being employed in a BPO company.
Sure.
And slowly nobody spoke about how over the period of time, any conversation, any company you call to, the first response you get is from a robotic voice,
Correct.
not from a human voice.
It's true.
Like you said, it flew under the radar. Nobody noticed it. The change was very gradual, very slow.
Yeah.
And people didn't mind it. Because at the end of the day,
I think that's where you hit the nail on the head. People didn't mind it.
Yeah.
Because I think that if people would have had, let's say, taken issue with it, then it probably would have been a lot more prevalent in the conversation.
Exactly. I think that's where the companies played a big part. Like the first response is a robotic voice. But then the robotic voice will give you 6 or 7 options. If this is your query, go do this. If this is your query, go do this. But the 7th last option will always be contact a human agent. So subconsciously we waited for the 7th option to be the human agent because we knew we are going to talk to someone. And that's what right now is happening. The 1 million that I said might be employed by 2030.
30, yeah.
Are going to be these people. People, when customers are very desperate and want some human agent to talk to. So these people will be the last line of defense the BPO companies are going to employ.
You know, earlier, before, I remember when you and I were having a discussion and our producer was also going ahead and sharing his inputs with us. I thought he made a very valid point. I can't unfortunately hear him right now, but I believe that he made a very valid point, which was that, you know, in, let's say, the hinterland of the country, right, where the remote villages and places like that, there are people, I mean, who obviously need to be addressed as well, right?
True.
And they don't somewhere correlate with this entire thought of a robot talking or things like that. They might not even know. And I'm not judging here. It's just that probably there's just a gap.
True.
So is it that they would be able to understand or probably tell the problem as far as things are concerned properly, right? So is that going to forever remain a niche area as far as humans are concerned moving forward? Or do you see that also just getting completely decimated by AI?
So right now there is a gap, like you said. Any regional conversation, any regional customer experience queries are very locally placed. Like for example, people who only speak Tamil, for example, their offices are located in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, locally employed by localites there. So right now there is a gap because a lot of people have been laid off as well. But again, companies are coming up with multilingual model where you can train an AI in different models, in different languages. Even right now, there are companies in India who have achieved this feat with major languages, let's say 5 to 6 languages. Like when we spoke about the initial robotic voice, let's say for a guy who speaks Marathi, right? The first query for him, when he chooses Marathi instead of English, the robotic voice tells him, asks him, what is your query? What are you dealing with?
Fair enough,
so these are the major issues that we always come about. These are the FAQs that you have.
Shed some light on, Vincent, shed some light on the agentic process outsourcing. There is this entire discussion which has been going on for a while, which is from BPO to APO.
True. Yeah.
So very quickly, if you could just shed some light on that.
Definitely.
Is that just agentic AI management, or does that further, exaggerate the fact that BPOs are down and
So
dusted?
what experts say is that BPO is not dying. BPO is reinventing itself. BPO is becoming APO, agentic process outsourcing. So what companies are doing is basically they are orchestrating the entire AI system to validate outputs and advise clients as well. So they bring a huge chunk of functioning under one small umbrella because the AI can do the entire workflow in a fraction of a second.
Sure.
Right. Sure. So all these years and decades of voice recordings which the companies kept from several different queries, they trained the AIs with all those languages. They trained these AIs with all those dialogues. So when a client is asking, for, let's say, question number 2 in the rule book, the AI is already thinking about question number 600 in the rule book.
Wow.
Because that's
the
the speed the AI works. And this is how the agentic process outsourcing is also working.
Fair, understood. I want to ask you, in terms of the human element, because I believe that is at the heart of this story.
True.
And for everyone watching, ladies and gentlemen, Winston has written this particular article, so please go check it out at the Analytics India magazine. Of course, now back to what do you have to say personally speaking? Because that's a huge number we're talking about. That's more than 15 to 20 lakh jobs that are suddenly going to be wiped out.
Yeah.
Maybe not wiped out fully because they have switched to the gig economy. But how do you feel the employer is feeling at this given point in time? Let's look at it from that side, because he's employed a lot of people for 10 years.
Yeah.
And he's been upgrading them, doing X amount of things. And today AI seems to come in and has just thrown a spanner in the works.
Yeah.
And so is the employer going to be empathetic towards this method? Oh, no.
Definitely not, Sudhir. Because for the employer, from the employer perspective, the data suggests that they're going to have 5 to 6 fold increase in revenue.
Wow.
So the revenue, for example, let's say $50 billion revenue in 2024 is going to be 140 billion revenue by 2031.
Wow.
In just 6 to 7 years, the revenue profit is going to be 3 or 4 times more. So the employer is not thinking about the people he is laying off. He's just looking at the profits, the revenues. Because one expert we spoke to, he said, let's say it costs $6 per hour.
Sure.
A client is paying, outsourcing company, $6 per hour. With AI, he's just paying $1.5 or $2 per hour. So that's the revenue and the profit the employer is making. So from the employer perspective, there's no empathy per se.
So that means, I guess, we've been forever been tom-tomming about this for so long on front page, which is the fact that one needs to upskill, one needs to upgrade. But this particular job skill, for example, does not really have too much of leverage to upskill as well, right? Working in a BPO, like you mentioned.
True. So only very few people in the past half a decade or let's say 7 years who realized that the BPO sector is dying. They shifted their career stream. A lot of people went into analysis because they used to process a lot of data.
Sure.
Those data were manually entered. Right now, AI has replaced that as well. For example, when a client is calling, when a customer is calling, while answering the queries, the AI in the back end is filling the data as well. So the data entry job is also gone. So people who used to work in data entry and customer relation, they shifted to data analytics, data processing, statistics based, and they kind of went a lot of middle management
but AI is coming for that as well, no, Winston?
It is. So for them, from their perspective, they've had a career change in the past 7 years. From there, it's just a life net.
Okay.
From there, they can pull it up, change to another career.
Makes sense.
So that's how it's going to go.
What is that one thing you feel that one needs to do in a situation like this? Because I believe it is, well, relatively drastic.
Yeah.
Philippines is completely beating us because a lot of this work is going to the Philippines because they're even cheaper than us.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
So what should we as an industry or as an ecosystem do in India specifically? Should we say, all right, it was a wonderful journey and let's just enjoy our last swan song? Or is there a way that we can maybe make some amends, we can upgrade, we can do something?
I don't think there's no way to make amends to it. I think it's time to say goodbye to this sector.
Don't do this, no Winston.
Because a lot of companies, they are not prioritizing.
And you said it with such surgical precision as well.
Exactly, because that's what the companies we spoke to, they are talking about it. We don't want to be India don't want to be associated with the BPO sector anymore.
What is it that they want to be associated with?
India wants to be in par with, we had the AI summit here.
Yeah.
India wants to be in par with the global par. Like anything tech, we are able to do it, because obviously any other global country
Fair
that
point.
grew on the tech basis were built on Indians. So they want to do it in the home ground as well. So we want to be top notch in AI, we want to be top notch in DRDO. So that's the angle we are focusing on right now. In fact, a senior venture capitalist said during the AI summit, he said, even IT services and BPO will die by 2030. So that's the phase India is shifting completely towards. Even IT services people don't want to associate with. People want to associate with AI, MLOps, and the trajectory has changed completely. Because
What would you like to say to a lot of the people who are watching right now, are stuck probably in a weird catch-22 situation, don't know what to do? Because you have been speaking to a lot of experts, and I believe
yes.
if you could maybe share something with them, some knowledge base that
I think
will
it all
probably help them.
Yes. So I think it all boils down to researching what type of job roles will be there in the next decade, because even the next 5 years is unpredictable. You need to think about the next 10 years, jobs that will persist in your own field, your own career, and then make a shift towards it. Not necessarily upskill, make a career change also if needed be, because upskill has become a
It's a very nice, happy buzzword.
yeah,
A
exactly.
lot of people don't know what to upskill to.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where industry experts say you need to keep an eye or look out for people who can mentor you. So that's where
Fair, that's, I
it
think,
comes
a good
down to.
point. That's a
You
good
need
point.
to have someone to talk to about in the career, because everything is changing right now. And either we change with the change or we just get stuck.
Fabulously put. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Novinston Lobo. It's a pleasure, Novinston, to have
you,
you with
Sudhir.
us
Thank you
for
for
the
having
very
me.
first time on Front Page.
Looking
I
forward
hope
to
you
meeting you
enjoyed
again.
your debut here.
I
You've
did.
definitely
Absolutely
scored
did.
a century today, so well done.
Thank you.
And of course, here is our Front Page take as always. Revenue may rise, but the workforce will shrink. BPO is shifting from people-powered work to AI-orchestrated services. For millions of workers, the real question is how fast their jobs will change. And as Novinston put it, the idea is not to feel stuck. The idea is not to feel dejected. The idea is to get yourself up and keep going. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.